Okay, hey everyone. I'm Anshika Jain, core member of DSC BVP, and I welcome you all to the second session of Android Study Jam. Yesterday we had our first session by Kunal Raghav, and it was really interesting, and I hope it really helped you a lot. So, in Android Study Jam, we will take you on a journey of becoming proficient from a beginner in Android development. So, let's get started with our second session. Today, we second session today we have Joshua de Guzman. He is a Flutter and a Dart Google developer expert, and he is a software engineer at betterbank.app. Thank you, Joshua, for taking our time, and we welcome you. Over to you for the amazing session.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Like, I'm excited to give this workshop as well. Now, even if this is a Android study jam, no, like this is somehow can be used by existing Android developers if they're interested to try out what Flutter can offer. So, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Uh, okay, I guess I should start now. Right. So first of all, like, good evening, everyone. Like, this is the second talk that I'll be giving for tonight, both at 6 p.m. Just a fun fact, 6 p.m. my time, and this one is 6 p.m. your time. So hopefully, I'm still awake now for this workshop, and hope you guys will learn a few things from me. Okay, so for the workshop, no, motivation for today in this talk is to understand, no, if you already have an existing Android app, should you switch to Flutter? Should you rewrite your app entirely to Flutter? Or is there a better way on maintaining your existing Android code base, native code base? At the same time, you'll be able to utilize what Flutter can offer. And since most of you are probably not aware, since this is an Android study jam, we'll try to just discuss what Flutter can offer in a nutshell, how it does, what are the companies that using it, and what is Flutter Add to App a feature? Is it a feature that we need to maintain the existing code base? The use cases that you need to maintain your existing Android app while adding more and more features written in Flutter and Dart. And we'll go straight right away to coding, and talk about practical stuff on how you can implement it. We'll start the project, at least for Android, from scratch. We'll just copy paste a single screen from XML, then we'll just drive right straight away to integrating Flutter. So hopefully this is a bit exciting for you guys because you're still doing Android and at the same time Flutter. So Flutter, I believe most of you have, not all of you, most of you have already heard what Flutter is. So its website is flutter.dev, and what it does, it's a toolkit. It's a toolkit for allowing developers to create applications, that has beautiful design, declarative UI, and with all of these features that allows you to make beautiful apps, it also increases the developer productivity of your teams because it allows you to reuse existing code that can be deployed to almost any platform. Hopefully in the future, like mobile right now, they're both in production ready, beta for web, and like technical preview for desktop, Mac OS, Linux, Windows, and a lot more platforms hopefully in the future. So for this one, Flutter is not just cross-platform, it's multi-platform UI toolkit. It's not an application development framework, meaning you only have to deal mainly on using the Flutter layered architecture, but with regards to the navigation, with regards to the business logic, the domains of your application, you can just pretty much use any type of architecture or services you would like to implement or integrate to your app. So Flutter does not limit you with that because it's a UI toolkit. Fast development, it supports hot reload, it supports hot restart. It gives you, a faster way of visualizing the things that you're adding in your Flutter app, which is really exciting. As a mobile dev, I've been experiencing a lot of build times. Not sure in Android, at least from the past, I've been coding now for at least 2 to 3 years now professionally, and 4 years, including my college years. And I've been using Android, using a beat up MacBook Air, and I can say that it don't have the best hardware in town. It's really slow. Like I still had the chance to try out Android Studio without hot reload, but I think right now the Android suite is blazingly fast, so I'm still using it now. And also it also improves like both Android and Flutter development. So I both love Flutter and Android. Flutter also allows you to create beautiful designs. So with the declarative UI, unlike the imperative way of previously doing it on XML or code, with beautiful declarative UI, you can just pretty much create the widgets of your app in blocks. So instead of referencing it to multiple files, you can just simply add the widget that you're trying to design or add in your application, and you can reflect the changes right away. And high performance, but native is still as Android native is still as performant as it should be, but Flutter is also high performant right out of the bat. So with proper handling of how you deal with state and network calls, you'll pretty much have a very performant app released to your users, assuming you've really had the chance to really create a very or handle your state management well, or handle the performance of your app. But out of the box, it's high performant, just like Android native. And some of the apps built on top of Flutter. So we have the MGM Grand website. We have recently this is the eBay mobile app. They migrated fully using Flutter. And Alibaba, one of the things that I would like to mention with Alibaba is that it uses the same technique that we will be discussing tonight, which is Flutter Add to App. So with Alibaba, like it uses other technologies, for example, like native Android and native iOS beforehand, but like piece by piece, they try to migrate features, or they try to add new features written in Flutter until eventually they have migrated all of the features in Flutter. But again, it depends on the company whether you're going to stick with Android or going to stick with Flutter. So they should not compare apples to oranges, because both platforms should work fine. Android works best, Flutter works best on its own as well. And it just happened that Alibaba decided to migrate to Flutter using Flutter Add to App. And some of that I've worked on as well personally back at freelancer.com. I was a software engineer there full time. I work on this feature, the portfolio feature here. It's written Flutter, and you can add it inside a specific screen. And this feature here, the profile reviews, edit profile, these are all native, written in XML and Android. And if you try to open this portfolio, it will just open the specific single screen. And I think it's much more complex now. So if you try to open the succeeding screens here, everything there will now be loading Flutter app. So the good thing here is that even if we have an existing code base, like we have 14 engineers, a lot of engineers have integrated a lot of their best ideas to the code. So why should we abandon it, right? So personally, we think that instead of abandoning the existing code base that we have, that the company has spent millions on it, why not we use the existing code base and add more on top of it, right? So that's what makes things interesting with Flutter. It has this feature called Flutter Add to App, which we'll see later in action. Some of the companies that are using Flutter, right, for their apps, big names in the industry, and a lot more to it. So with all the benefits, should I just switch to Flutter right away? So as mentioned, it always depends on the company. So whether your company is tight in the budget, or whether your company has a lot of engineers and resources that can spend on R&D on this kind of like experimental features, then it always depends who has this decision, or if you are the technical person in your team, and if you defended it successfully, then feel free to start with Add to App. And just like any other project, like disposing your old code base is not really an option, but rather improving it, refactoring it, just like life of typical software engineer. Instead of creating everything from scratch, you're probably picking up some parts of your code in your previous projects. And also, if you're working with a very fast-paced environment, especially right now working on a startup company, if you're working on an enterprise company that needs a lot of features to be released week by week or monthly, then really one of the things that you have to consider is try to reduce duplication in terms of the effort. So one thing that Flutter can offer you is that if you have written or existing screens or your widgets in Flutter, you can reuse that existing features to iOS as well. So let's get to it. What is Flutter Add to App? So Flutter Add to App is a feature in Flutter that allows you to reuse existing code base. No, so existing code base, whether Android or iOS, without having to abandon them. Just have to reuse them. At the same time, you'll be using the new features or building new features in Flutter. So as you can see a while ago in the portfolios, existing code base, native Android, Kotlin, Java, all written in Android, native Android, but succeeding features that we build is now written in Flutter. So the benefit that you get, the features that we're building with Flutter can be reused to the existing code base that we have for iOS. Yeah, if this sounds good to you, like feel free to comment and let me know if you have any questions during the live coding. No, let's make it a bit interactive. So if you guys have questions while I'm doing the live coding, feel free to interrupt me. And yeah, let's guys go straight away to the live coding. The use cases, we use cases in the live coding that we're trying to do is we'll be building an app that has a single page in Android and a single page in Flutter. So we'll make things a lot more simpler, but definitely you can do it on a large complex app like we did back at freelancer.com. So in this feature, the first use case is you have an existing Android app and you want to add new features in Flutter, but instead of adding it as as a single small part of your application or small part of screen, you've added it as a separate screen. At the same time, if you try to open succeeding screens in that Flutter, it's just natural that it will redirect to other Flutter routes or Flutter screens that is available in your Flutter app. Next use cases, which we will not be discussing in detail because time is limited, is adding a Flutter view inside an Android screen. So this one, you can do it using the Flutter fragment. But yeah, we'll discuss it later. How you can do it as part of your action items for this workshop. So live coding. The first thing that we have to do before all these steps is to create a new project. So Android Studio, hopefully, like one of the issues that a lot of us teachers experience is Android Studio tends to eat a lot of our RAM, but hopefully this works fine today. Let me know if you guys have any questions on the live channel or clarifications. So right now, this is the finished project. I want to show you, from scratch so that you'll actually see how things are done from the very beginning instead of, trying to read an existing code. Okay, so create new project in Android. This is the options that you have in Android Studio. I'll be choosing empty activity, so this is probably the easiest route. I'll name my app. I think let's say register DSC BVP _ Android. So the project should DSC BVP. So right now I'm creating an Android project. So there's no Flutter part yet. And click finish. Right now I'm using Kotlin since hopefully you guys are aware what Kotlin is. It's kind of like the alternative now, not in building Android application top instead of Java. So right now I'll try to increase the size. Good thing you guys reminded me about that one a while ago. Custom font. I think 20 is the thing that I'm using all the time. Or not. Probably in VS Code. So let's try again. 30. Oh, It's not still not readable. 30. It's just lagging a bit. But can you guys see the code? Like, is it readable? Can you guys comment here in the chat if all right. Okay. I think you can already see the code. Okay. Let me just go back to, I think 24 is the right size. This is yes. Okay, so right now it's just loading. And for sure to run this, so actually I'm using an actual device, and let me try to share my screen. I'm using an actual device because most of my emulators are x86. So one thing that you have to bear in mind that it uses Flutter Add tab only supports a specific CPU architecture for Flutter Add. But for the meantime, let's not try to dive into it. So this is the basic app. So right now it's using dark mode. So let me just switch to light mode. Okay, it's much more lively. It's a bit late now, but we can do it. So the first step as an Android developer is to change the UI. And one thing that I love about Android is that the first-hand support from, oops, it's still loading. Let me try. Okay, let me try and load that one. Not sure where's the StreamYard. Okay, that's the StreamYard. Okay, it's still loading for some reasons. Maybe because that's the design. So right now I'm just adding, I already prepared this code snippet here, so you guys won't deal with this too much. So this is just a simple registration form, right? Simple linear layout with added text on it. And right now it's still loading. Hopefully, what is slowing us down? So let's try now. Let's try to reload. So right now I'm hard restarting the Android app. So that's a cool thing about Android Studio now. Oh, it supports a sort of hot reload as well. So right now we're not able to see the UI for Android. It's kind of like loading, but that shouldn't matter. We're not discussing about the UI, but rather we can just simply not discuss the XML. It's a bit straightforward. So we have, as you can see here on your screen, we have two fields. We have the edit text for first name, we have the edit text for the last name, and we have the button for the register. So what we aim to accomplish in the first step is to integrate actual integration of Flutter to our Android app. So one of the easiest route to do this is by installing, if you haven't installed yet the plugin for Flutter, you should be installing it right now because you will be needing it. So this automatically installs the Dart plugin as well. So this is installed. All right. So that's one thing you have to note. And for you to integrate, there are a lot of ways. There is also a manual integration. That's what I did back at freelancer.com. But in this one, it's much more easier now to integrate a module from Flutter. So import new module. So again, I just click new module, import module. Or it should be new. Let me check. Why is think it's still loading. The new module is not. New module is not available for some reason. But it should be available. Let me just try to restart the Android Studio. And it should be quick. The new module should be available as an option. For some reason, it's not. It should be. We're still live. And if we try to file new, yeah, there you go. New module, file new module. And choose or browse for the Flutter module because it's at the very bottom. And Flutter module. Next, new description of the Flutter module. I want it to stay within the specific directory of my app or Android app. And I want it to name Flutter module. I can also name it as DSC BVP Flutter. So it's kind of like almost similar to the Android app. Right now it's creating. Give it time. Let's check if it's actually built. Okay, so right now it's named as Flutter module. In this specific example, so we now have two code base opened. So don't be confused. The one opened in Visual Studio Code, this is Visual Studio Code, as the Flutter app. So these code will contain all the changes that are pretty much related to the Flutter changes that we're trying to make. And for the, let me just try. Okay, let me just try and add this here. And for the Android, like this should be okay. Right now it's working. So let's try to run our app again for the second time. So this is running from scratch. So what happened if we try to use the import module feature? These changes some of the configurations in your Android app. So right now, if you try to look at the, just try. Try to look at settings. Settings.gradle, your Android app right now, which is now named DSC BVP Android, should reference the Flutter module that you have added, meaning it's somehow referencing it as part of the dependencies that it's used. So imagine as if you were using just a plain old dependency that you've added to your or plain old module that you've added to your Android app. So with the GUI way of doing add to app, new module, it's a lot simpler. You can also try manual integration if you're interested, but since we don't have the entire day to discuss all the options, let's just stick with this. Okay, so now we have successfully integrated Flutter to our Android code base. So I assume the next thing that you have to ensure here is that you should be using Java 8 for your project. So I assume this is already default. Okay, so that's already default if you try to create a new project. So some compile options, it's default to Android 8. But the next thing you have to consider is to limit the target devices, so that, for example, if you're in the Play Store, you don't want to release on the specific devices that doesn't support this CPU architecture. So as mentioned, this is not supporting x86 devices. And if you try to add this one on API filters, just simply tell that, hey, Play Store, do not try to publish my app if the devices are not or don't have this specific type of CPU architecture. Otherwise, if you haven't added this one and you try to deploy your app in a Play Store, they will experience crashes, runtime crashes, which is very difficult to track if you don't have that kind of specific device not to test. So right now it's just syncing. So hopefully, so right now what we have run is the Flutter apps. Let's try to run the main app or the Android app. Woohoo! We're now on the second step. Let's just wait for this one to run before we move on to the next one. So it's still running. Hopefully you guys have questions. Keep them coming. Use Ask Joshua does. Yeah. Why does Gradle take huge time even for small code? Yeah, like pretty much there are a lot of factors, no? Like Gradle, there's a lot of factors that affects even for small code because it does a lot of things under the hood. But it caches though. Like if you've already built it for the several times, it just uses the caches of the things that you built. So at least for to answer that question, it takes a huge time. It just happens on the first time. Succeeding build should be a lot faster, and also depends on the hardware of your machine. So if you are using, like my experience way back in college was just using a very old MacBook Air, I think 2012 or 2013, so it doesn't have enough RAM. So the resources kind of like divided on the browser that I'm using, probably Chrome or other tasks that I'm doing. And Gradle only tries to take, some portion of my hardware, but can't use it because it's overutilized. So that's something you have to consider. Next question. Super hyped. Yeah. What is block and flutter? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, at least for that one, that block is somehow block. There's a package block, but there's also a architecture pattern block. So I'll start with the architecture pattern. It was introduced by Google, as a go-to state management tool in Flutter, architecture in Flutter, based on streams. So based on stream for publishing and subscribing to events. But there's also a package, created by Felix. He's an awesome guy. You can follow him on Twitter. He created a block package that allows you to implement block without trying to implement everything on your own from scratch. So it's a state management architecture / tool if you're talking about a package. So right now we have an awesome app, like a very, very awesome architecture. So right now we'll try to our next part of our live coding is to open this activity, the ones that you see here. Open this one from the Android app. So it's a bit exciting because this is the first time that we will be calling the Flutter app from Android. So we have to go to the main activity. So just like any other buttons, you can either use the same like sugar for getting the BP login directly, but for the meantime, let's not try to overcomplicate things. We'll just try to use. My mouse is not visible. Okay, so DVC register should be you should look at the embedding. So right now I'm having hard time to see it on my screen because it's on the leftmost part of the screen, but it should be the embedding Flutter activity. So it's not the activity from other package. So let's just try to stop all and just try to run. So right now we haven't done any changes to the Flutter app yet, but hopefully if we try to open this one, it works. Yeah, so let's try, register. and it crashes. Let's see what is the issue. Have you declared Flutter activity? Yes, I haven't. So what we miss on the specific demo, so this happens on live demo. It's okay. So the typical forget activity is the issue. So let's try to open. Good thing I have for the cheat sheet here so that we'll continue and not guess everything that has supposed to be magic. So let's try to restart the app. So what I missed is we forgot to add, or at least I forgot to add the activity for Flutter specific embedding. So hopefully this will run. And we try to click register. Oops, and it opens the Flutter app. So I can go back, click register, and it does open. So welcome to our second step. But as you can see here, if we try to do things, if do this again and again, you can notice that there's a delay somehow, right? So back again, try to register. There's a white screen, like a preloader. So if you try to see the code, here, like what we're trying to do here really is to just load the Flutter activity on demand. So what happens is the Flutter engine behind the scenes is not yet running. There's no queue. The Flutter does not know when to run, when to start warming up the engine. So it automatically just starts the engine once you press or start the activity. But one thing that the Flutter Add app offers is that it provides a way for you to cache the engine or pre-warm the engine, meaning before you even start that specific screen, you can now start the engine that runs, that allows your Flutter app to start, so that if you try to open your specific Flutter route in your app, it opens like it's just a part of your Android app. I'm sorry. Yeah, I think there's something in my mouth. Okay, so again, we have done integrating Flutter Add to app. We've opened an activity. Right now, we'll be opening an activity with a cache engine. So the first thing is to create an activity or an application class. Kotlin, my application, or we can also name DSC application, so that looks more legit. And I import the class, and to warm the engine, you should just simply on create function. Let me just clear this up for everyone. Okay, so at least for this one, I want a DSC engine. So for this one, now you can find the snippet as well from the documentation. But before, when I was doing this specific cache engine from the past, I had to look for the actual code base, how to implement this, because at the time when I was trying to implement it on our app, it's a bit experimental. So right now, Flutter provides you a very easy way to cache the engine. So that is done through the application class, which is, as you can guess, the first thing that is called whenever you try to run your Flutter app. And right now, DSC application, or our application class, is not yet called. So to do that, hopefully you guys still remember the manifest and the name. This is how you call the application class in Android. So you call the name and you reference the DSC application, and automatically users classes calls that function as it starts to run. So right now, to test, let's just try to use this engine. So right now, in the future, you may want, if you have multiple engines, you may want to use constant files for this one, because things can go wrong if, for example, there's a misspelling on the key. Right now, since we're just focused on a single engine, it's a bit easier for us to debug. But again, in the future, you may want to have multiple Flutter engine running. Let me just try to open up. So instead of Flutter activity opening create default intent on demand, we will now be opening a Flutter activity using the cache engine. So with cache engine, DSC engine dot build this. Okay, let's try to check. What we're trying to accomplish here is to open the app using the cache engine, and in the UI part, so that's a kind of like a technical, the cache part, but in the UI part, we want to load the Flutter screen as fast as we can without waiting for the white screen to open. So we're trying to register here. Right now, there's a bit of delay, but I can assure you if this is running already on release mode, this should be as fast as it gets. Because right now it's on debug, so it adds a bit of delay, but see that? Like I'm just switching between screens. It's faster. At least it's faster, than what we had earlier. So it's a cool thing, to open the Flutter activity using a cache engine. So the application warms up the engine so that at the time when you open your Flutter activity, the engine is already up and running, and you don't have to worry about waiting or showing a loading time. So last interesting thing that we have to do in our live coding is to pass data between Android and Flutter. So probably this is one of the most interesting part for me, because now imagine like combining two awesome technologies, Android and Flutter, having them to communicate with each other. It's such there's such a at least for me it's really fascinating, allowing these services to run at the same time in your app, and they could go fast as they can get. So the last step is to pass data. So as you can guess, one of the things that we have to pass is the first name and last name. So the first name and last name should be shown to the next page, right? Meaning to the Flutter activity. So to do that, we will be using platform channels. So platform channel is kind of like a bit somehow a technical term for everyone, but right now think of platform channels as a medium for a Flutter app to communicate with the native code that you have. So whether it's iOS, Android. So think of as platform channels as something as simple as that. So right now we'll not try to go deep dive with the platform channel, but it's a powerful tool. It's been used by a lot of apps, and we also use it to pass data between the two applications. So to do that, we have to declare a channel. So platform channel is DSC application. The platform channel is a let me try DSC. No, is based on the concept of channel. So for example, like you have a DSC/registration channel, meaning like semantically, that all of the data that you will be passing on this specific channel is related to registration channel, but it's string based, so there's no convention. But in practice, we usually do something like this: the name of the application and the domain, on what data you're trying to pass between Flutter and Android app for that specific channel. So with that one, we also have a method callback. So for the method callback, this is where an Android application listens. So for example, if the Flutter app sends a message to the Android app, we will be handling it here. So if the method name is logout user, do something here. That's how simple it is. So one of our goals right now is to pass data from Android to Flutter. Let's discuss the other way around in a few. Right now it's a bit lagging. So let me try to so right now actually the method is not, no, we actually lost the snippet for the code, but we can all type it. So what you can do here is to send a message from Android to Flutter is you have to invoke method. So invoke a method, now you have to pass a method name. So the method name that I like to use is create account. And the arguments that I like to pass here is, as you can guess, the first name. Right now it's not declared. The mouse is missing. Okay. We'll have to declare value to first name. Fine. Or the edit text. It's been a while since first name. Okay, so I've been doing Dart lately, so the semicolon is not required for Kotlin. But yeah, miss Kotlin that I added semicolon. Okay, now we forgot to add the button, so we still need the button, but we deleted it. So and we only need to invoke the register method inside the callback. Oh, there's an error. Okay, that's a button. It's not an edit text. Set on click. Oh. Okay, every time you try to press register, it should validate. Or should check if the first name and last name should have a content, right? So we're trying to see if ep first name dot text is not blank, and let's just copy paste that one. Where's the mouse? Come on. Mouse is missing. Where is my mouse? For some reason, let me just... Yeah, for some reason, my mouse is moving away from me. Let's try to copy last name. So we don't want to implement like a bunch of error handling here, but you get the point here. If the first name and last name is empty, we will not try to call this method. So how can we open this activity? Well, we just really need to open the activity again with the cache engine, because no, we should use cache engine really. Okay, so right now it's passing the data, but we're not receiving it on the Flutter app. So for the Flutter app, we just remove all comments. Remove all comments. Let me just try to catch everything here. Full name. Remove the counter app. So this is the most basic Flutter app that you can do in Flutter. So right now I'm using two IDEs, so VS Code. So there's different in key bindings. So hopefully you'll be able to use it. Create account. Did I use create account? Okay, I'm using create account. Okay, create account. So right now, what I'm trying to do here is almost similar, not to what we did on Android. So this one, we're also set method call handler. We also have that one, meaning we are waiting now for the other platform to send a message to us. So at least in this case, this platform of set method call handlers, we're waiting, whether it's on iOS or Android, to send a message that has a method name called create account. So what we're planning to do here, if the argument is not null, meaning we have the full name and first name. We will set state the full name to the call argument. So the call arguments contain this value, nothing value. This is the value, et last name and first name. So the first name, we will just subscribe. In here, we will just, let's bit first name, and we will just change the counter app to the first name. So if it's null, then show empty string. So let's just try to restart the app. So later on, I'll show you how you can maximize the benefit that you can get in Flutter if all the steps already done. Let's see. Okay, it's still building. So hopefully right now we should display the full name and first name in Flutter. So there are a few questions coming up. I'll try to get back to you in a few, guys. And yeah. So it's still running. Maybe I can answer a few. At least, what are the disadvantages of Flutter? I've seen a lot of disadvantages. Still, huge companies don't want to shift to Flutter. Well, no, I actually gave a talk regarding about why companies not using Flutter a while ago, with regards to like state management. But like companies has to take into consideration a lot of things. Like if they hired full-time Android developers, they hired iOS developers, and if the developers are not willing not to learn Flutter, it's really dependent on their resources, or it's really dependent on the decision makers of the company. Because if there's no technical person that is going to defend, like Flutter is probably ideal for some of their projects, then nothing is really going to happen. And as companies, they're trying to how should I put this? So they're trying to be conservative as they can, especially during this pandemic. They try to evaluate things in a much more they try to scrutinize technologies a much more in a way that they think they will not lose in the game. So at least now some companies are still trying Flutter, but big companies like eBay, even Google themselves, Alibaba, are now using Flutter. But like even big companies, some companies are not using Flutter, then they maybe have their own reasons and decisions why they're not using it. But that doesn't mean that big companies are not using Flutter. You guys won't try it because like it's probably a big company that has a lot of influence. But it's very subjective. Depends on the complexity of the project, the resources that you have. A lot of factors can affect that specific decision, and there's nothing wrong about that. Not trying Flutter if they're not really interested, but we do encourage like people to try out Flutter, see if it works for your team or not. So going back to our code, right now, if you try to click register, it's nothing happening because we have a flag. So the Guzman register. So right now nothing is showing. Why is that? Let me just check. Let us check if the full name is there. Let's just try to restart again the app. Later on, I'll show you how you can do Flutter attach and Flutter hot reload at the same time. So right now we're just restarting the app because, so that you won't try to implement the additional lines of codes that you're trying to think at the moment. No worries. I'm happy to answer your questions. So what happened is there's no text showing. So my point, right. So what happens is the channel should be, let me check in the background. So maybe because we call this, I lost the code snippet for this one, but this should work. Okay, it's a bit slow running Gradle all the time from scratch. So I'm running Gradle from scratch. I'm not doing hot reload, but you can also do hot reload from this one. It's just that I want a clean build every time. Hopefully it's a clean build now. Joshua, GG. So right now it's still not appearing. Let's try to debug the SU. So invoke method. Oh, right. So the issue is it has a different channel. So DSC registration channel should be similar to Flutter. So I'm still using my own snippet. Live coding, debugging. So yeah, that's what you get for doing live coding. But it's interesting. At least you get to see, how people actually debug their code. No, like it's not just a scripted live coding, or coding session, but you really get to see a glimpse of how things are working. But so the issue is the channel that we're using in Android is DSC/registration channel. But in Flutter, we are using Feedly. So that's kind of like a different channel. So as mentioned, if you want to communicate between Flutter and Android, you have to use the same channel. Otherwise, you guys will not be able to see each other, at least for the messages. So right now it's done. And hopefully, woohoo, we made it. So just to validate our idea, okay. So we're now passing first name and last. That's not my last name, but it's passing arguments, to from Android to Flutter. So last thing that I want us to understand, like that's pretty much the live coding session. But one thing that I would like to understand is the thing called Flutter hot reload, or in Flutter. So let me just try to do something like this. So let me just try to. Right now it's a bit lagging. Okay, so one thing that you can do in Flutter is this called Flutter Attach. So what it does is, if my current Android app is already running, I can attach my Flutter. So typically you run your Flutter app using Flutter Run. But since we're doing add to app feature, you need to use Flutter Attach. So what it does is it syncs all the changes to the Android app. So as you can notice a while ago, we are always reloading the Gradle from scratch, which takes a lot of our time. But since we want to feel or experience the benefit of Flutter, why not just use the hot reload? So a hot reload meaning, right now this is Android, this is the Flutter app. So I'll try to change. Let's try to make it a bit similar to accent colors that purple accent. So right now I'm just changing, like I'm just drawing and adding drawing to my app. So Flutter DSC or DSC Flutter. So I'm just pressing R here, but you can also install the plugin that every time you save your file, it changes automatically. And in the Android app, like right now it's DSC VP Android. So right now, this is the benefit that you get for Flutter. So if you have this Android app and you want to work, so for example, in today's sprint, you want to work on a Flutter feature, then you can do something like this. You just let your Android app run once. So right now, the Android app is running once. But if you're already working on a Flutter feature, you can do something like this. You can add features such as animated container, duration, 250, colors not red, button. Right now I'm adding a bunch of widgets so that I can show you how easy it is not to do it in Flutter. Child change. And right now you don't have to follow along with this one, but I'll just want to show you something how quickly you can do this. So double change, double size is 30. So height. So this is a typical day, adding widgets in Flutter. and you can somehow, right now it's a bit lagging. It's faster than size. Did we name it size? Okay, it's size. So what we want to do is every time you press the buttons, we want to, if size is equal to 30, then change it to 60. If not, go back to 30. That's kind of like the, so let's just have it here. So that's Flutter. You can do something like that while still maintaining your existing code base. So that's just the simplest way, the simplest way on how Flutter Add to App is implemented. Imagine what you can do, like Alibaba did. They started piece by piece on their feature, then they tried to add more features. Eventually, they migrated their app fully on Android. So, with the closing, like action items, one of the things that we did back in the company, as you can see in the app, is that we use Flurry Fragments. So, I'll show you in action. Not sure if I can still open it. One of the things that you can see here, everything here is native, and this specific portfolio feature is running on Flutter. But if you try to open it, like you can just pretty much open the screen directly in Flutter. And if you are concerned about the native components, right now we also have a feature that can download and save the images in your app. So now really what you want in your app is to just try it out first. So at least for the action items again, now we use Flutter Fragment, use it when necessary, or whenever you deem to, but most of the time you will only be needing Flutter Activity if you're just really adding a new feature. Google Protobuf, so we also use this for serializing the data, that path between the Android and the Flutter app. So right now what we use is the typical platform channels. So the challenge with that one is that the data type from Flutter might not be a data type that can be interpreted in Kotlin or Java. So with the Google Protobuf, it allows us to serialize data in a way that it conforms to both or to all the platforms that is trying to target. So if this is int32 on Java, this is supposed to be equivalent of int32 on Dart, and so on and so forth. So, and also it's blazingly fast if you use Google Protobuf as well. And advancing in platform channels. So right now what we discuss is the basic method channel. So based on the methods, create user, you will do something. Or on the other hand, you will react to something. But on top of that, there are a lot more to platform channels. And I invite you to advance more on this one, because if you want to integrate a lot of native components, camera, whether it's AR, or whether it's on the GPS, the maps, most of the time it deals with platform channels. So that's really an important topic. And I'm open for questions. I'm excited to answer your questions. Yeah, like feel free to ask questions. Or yeah, you guys can pick the question you would like to be answered. There must be some drawbacks using this method from jumping one code base to another. Can you tell us what are there, or what are they? Well, if you mean drawbacks, hopefully I'll get this right. So if you mean drawbacks, like in terms of the performance or the utilization of this feature, there is known limitations which are listed here. So previously there's an issue in terms of like warming up the engine, things like that. But in terms like the developer productivity from jumping from one code base to another, like for example, developer trying to code in both Android and Dart, I think you'll get used to it. So for example, like what we did now, we're jumping off from VS Code to Android Studio, coding on different languages. But in the future, like if you're doing it every time, and you'll get used to it eventually.
Yeah, there's I think one or two more questions. Yeah.
Mhm. Is there any good way to integrate music in my Flutter? Well, this is probably kind of a bit specific, but definitely there are some libraries like specifically for MP3s that are available in pub.dev, so pub.dev, and like all of the packages that you can probably uh, you know, you're probably needing in your music app is available here. Not specifically sure, like I haven't done audio for quite a while now, but it should be here. And also, like, there's some plugins like that uses Exoplayer, under the hood for Android and equivalent for iOS. So they should be there. But I think you may want some specific answer on what part of music, like you would like to do in your apps, whether it's a player, recording, and yeah, there could be a long way for that. Yeah. How can we minimize this delay between switching? Any special method? Uh, right now, like what you're seeing in terms of like the delay, in terms of like, uh, this only happens, this only happens on really on debug mode. And if you're not caching the engine, then this right now it's almost no delay at all. Like, right, there's no delay. If you're using cache engine, this should be as fast as possible. But probably you have watched the earlier session where we still don't have the cache engine. So I encourage you to watch that specific portion where we add, like the cache engine, because it really helps a lot now warming up the engine of your code, of your Flutter code. Can Yeah, definitely. Like, as from experience, no, initially, like, the iOS team really is the first one to integrate Flutter Add to app back at freelancer.com, and eventually they created a bunch of features for iOS. Then we tried to catch up in the Android team. So definitely, they are both available for Android and iOS. Okay, so hot reload and different from hot restart. Yeah, they are different. So for hot restart, think of it as restarting the entire app rather than specific changes you made and sent to the VM or the virtual. Uh, um, what this does is there are times you need hot restart, especially if the classes or object, does not meet the criteria, or for example, they are changed. So for example, the previous widget is a stateful widget and you convert it to stateless widget. you know you may want to use hot restart on that specific part because like it's completely a different type of widget in Flutter. But oftentimes, like, you won't be converting a lot of stateful and stateless widget on your development. And if you really want just a clean build, then you can do hot restart. But if you're just doing, iterating to changes, minor UI design changes, like what we did with the theme color, with adding, with just if simply adding animation box, then feel free to use hot reload. So hot restart again, full application build. Hot reload just sends some changes to the VM that you want to reflect in your app. Mhm. Why do you prefer Flutter? I do not specifically prefer Flutter, like, as in, like, always. You always just like always, like all the time. Probably, if that's your question, I don't. No, there are also instances where you have to consider, the complexity, the things that you're going to do for the project that you're building. It just so happened that most of the projects that I work on, especially on mobile, is really getting this benefit, from what Flutter can offer. But for example, if I'm doing some sort of like rapid website development and I want to be, SEO friendly, or I wanted to be, because I'm already familiar with React or other HTML, CSS, like static frameworks out there, for blogging, then I should use that. So yeah, like, if Flutter, no, like if Flutter is what you mean by like the best, no, like it really depends on the instance or the project that I'm trying to build. But yeah, Flutter happens to be one of the best solutions I had out there. Yeah, like I'll share this with the DSC team. If not today, probably tomorrow, and they can forward it to you. Yeah, I'm happy to share it. Yes, this will work. I think I answered this one. Yes, this will work as well for iOS.
Okay, I think that's it with the questions. Thank you so
Mhm.
much, Joshua. It was really awesome, and we got to know a lot about the use of Flutter in apps written in Java and Kotlin. It was really insightful, and I think you have answered pretty much all the questions. So, thank you. We are very honored and grateful to have you today. I hope you enjoyed the session too.
Yeah, I enjoyed this as well, and it's time for me to rest.
Yeah, sure. Okay, thank you, Joshua.
Yeah, but I'm happy to be here, and yeah, thank you for inviting me, and do hope now we guys get to meet each other again in the future.
Yeah, sure. Will.
All right. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so next up we have Naman. He'll explain you about all the enrollment procedure in the Android study jams and more. So over to you, Naman.
Okay, so Naman isn't here right now. Um, I think we can also share yesterday's insights as well in today's session. We built a simple application of Crossfire. It was basically a quiz of 5 questions that we built. So if you have missed out, do check it now and do have a look on that. So, yep, that's it. So, over to you, Naman, for the further things. Okay.
Hi everyone. So yesterday, for those who weren't present yesterday, I have I will be sharing the details of the program again today. Just give me a minute. Okay. So you will be going to android.dscbvp.dev. There's some internet issue at my area. Just give me a minute. Yeah. So here is the website android.dscbvp.dev. You can go here and know more about the program. It is written all about program here. You can register into the program by clicking on the registration form over here. And then here are the two programs, two tracks that are offering you in this jam. Yeah. The first one is Android Basics and Kotlin. You will learn to the same activity which you skipped.
Now, I think you are facing serious internet issues. Hello. Yep, we might have disconnected from Naman right now. Whatever Naman has in his bucket, I can just show you guys. Cool. So I will just share my slide quickly. Um, what I can do is I'm going to share my Chrome tab right now, and I will show you guys about what he's going to tell you. Cool. So I think my Chrome tab is visible. Yep. So basically, I will just go to android.dscbvp.dev. Um, I hope I'm audible and visible, and my screen is also visible. If not, just comment it out in the comment section. So yeah, so basically we have this Android study jams right now going on on our campus and in the whole DSC community right now. So basically, it officially ends on 25th January. The whole session of completing the tracks, and we build this cool web page to just give a overview of how you can proceed. So basically, what is this about? It's basically a program to help you all become a good Android developer. Even if you have no prior concepts of Android, or like you have no prior concepts of how things work in general, like programming or something, like if you have that thing that you don't know how programming works, then you have to know some oops concepts and then continue with the whole with the whole program. And then we have this registration form here. You can just go to this form. I need to might be share to another tab as well this time. So what I will do is I will show you the form as well that we have created. I hope it is visible now. And then you can just go to this form and then have a we have this small intro that what is this program about, and you can have more information on our website. And then to get a lot of announcements that we will about our upcoming programs, you can just join here. So you have your name, college name, email ID, and then you are interested in which track, like you will be completing that track. So yep, that's it for the enrollment process. And then I will show you more on the just sharing, stopping my screen, and then on the website only, I will tell you about more things. Just a minute. Okay, cool. So yeah, so basically there are two tracks: new to programming and prior programming experience, in which you have already some programming experience. And then Naman already told about us about we have this Kotlin cones thing, and we have this we have both the courses. The thing is that we have certificates for the people who are completing both the tracks, not only one, both the tracks. This time, it's like because and if you are completed only new to programming track, it's fine, but you won't be eligible for I think certificate. So yeah. Um. Also, this is from DSC BVP side only. We have this cool T-shirts that we will be giving away to the top 3 contributors. It's not about you completing the course; it's about you building an application that is actually beneficial in some way by learning something, by learning any like application from if you are, like there are a lot of applications in the I think demo things. So you can just go there and test out a lot of things, and then like continue to something that can be useful to you guys, that can be useful to your environment. So if you build something like that, we have cool T-shirts, and you will win the contest. Like only top 3 participants will be getting this T-shirt thing and certification. Also, if you want to be in the part of a challenge, you need to complete both the tracks and plus your application. So we will be giving out and cool Android T-shirts to those. So yep, that's about the whole program. You have uh, so I have this much only, and I think Naman had this much only. I hope that I explained well. And if you have any doubts, Anshika will explain us how you can connect with us. So yep, all this. Bye.
Okay. Thank you, Madri. Sorry, guys, Naman was facing some internet issue. So I'll now let you know about our next session. It's on 19th December. Our speaker, Mr. Rivu, he will be giving you insights about the architectures in Android and design. So don't forget to join us. It's the last session of the Android Study Jam, and you can get all your doubts solved by this amazing speaker as well. Also, in case you have missed our yesterday's session, it's available now on our YouTube channel at DSC BVP. You can view it there. It was really interesting by Kunal Raghav. So yeah, now I think we have come to the end of our session. I hope you really liked it. For further information, you can contact us at the on the email ID bvp.dsc@gmail.com, or you can contact us personally also on the WhatsApp groups. You can find some more information on our website, that is android.dscbvp.dev. So yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Hope to see you all in our next session as well. Signing out for the day. Bye-bye.